Hey, thanks for joining us here on our third ever live show that we created here just for plein air painters. And each Friday morning at 9, we tackle a different topic. And today we have a very special guest, Frank La Love. You're gonna have to. I even practice this. This is embarrassing. LaLumia. Am I close?
LaLumia.
LaLumia. Okay. All right. Well, Frank, sorry for butchering that. That's a problem with live TV, I guess. Well, hey, we are so pleased to be talking with you today, Frank. You are quite an accomplished painter, founding member of the National Watercolor Society, right? The American Watercolor Society.
I'm not a founding member. It's 150 years old.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm not quite that old.
All right, I have signature member then. How's that? You like that better?
There you go.
And the Oil Painters of America too. So you have been plein air painting for quite a while and all over the world. And I'm so pleased that you're joining us this morning to kind of talk about your adventures.
So, well, thanks for getting invited.
Yeah, you bet. And you are coming to us from
Trinidad, Colorado.
Trinidad, Colorado today. And Frank is going to be joining us during the Eagle Plein Air Festival in June. He'll be doing a special lecture on Wednesday, June 6th at 7 o'clock at the Eagle Public Library. And we'll get a little into that a little later. He's also going to be up in Boise working with the Idaho Watercolor Society, doing a big, long workshop with them as well. And so you can check that out. I think there's still some spots available on that. So, Frank, you work in watercolor and oil. What's with that? That's quite a challenge. Tell us about that.
Both of them I feel very attached to. I started painting in watercolor originally and worked in watercolor for 5 years maybe before I started doing both. And it was just it grew out naturally. I didn't really plan it that way. I just kind of fell in love with both mediums. And today I really couldn't do without either one.
So how do you go back and forth? It's such a brain shift. The techniques are so different.
It is superficially. It's like, watercolor is a light to dark medium and oil is the opposite. So right. Technically it's different, but really the bottom line is it's all the same. Like what you're trying to do with oil and watercolor, it comes out of the same place. The same principles are involved. So what the superficial thing of the technique is easily overcome through work and practice.
And you've been at this for a while, right?
Right. I graduated from college in 1970, and I started painting went to Mexico for 6 months, and then started painting in 1971 on location.
Okay, so that really started your quest for travel all around the world. Then tell us where you've been.
Well, in my younger days, I spent 7 months in India over 2 trips. One trip was 4 months, and one trip was 3 months. I spent 3 months painting in China and Tibet. I've been all over Europe, Mexico, Guatemala. It's been really a privilege. It's an incredible experience to be in these amazing places, and then to add painting to it is just. I'm very grateful to have had those experiences.
So tell us, Frank, what do you like most about painting on plein air?
Well, a number of things. It's first of all, it's a tremendous rush when you get out there and you confront nature, and whether it's a landscape or if you're in some third world foreign country, it's just hard to describe what an adrenaline rush it is, and it's not to mention the fact that it's a really big challenge. Like plein air painting is difficult. And it takes a while to just get on the other side of the ability to set up and make it through a painting without, all hell breaking loose.
Right, because there's so many things that can go wrong, right? And that's why I tell the customers and whatnot that come into the gallery that plein air is not for sissies. This is like the Olympics of painting, I think, because you've got all these changing conditions. It really can be really, really challenging.
That's exactly right. The light is really, you have about an hour maybe an hour and a half tops before you're looking at something with a complete shift of the color and value relationships to where you started.
Right. So tell us how you tackle that. I mean, how are you sketching? How do you move that fast?
Well, first of all, you have to move right along. You have to work quickly. Yeah. And what I try to do is block in the main relationships first, like the relationships of the pieces of the painting to each other, like the color and value of the tree versus the color and value of the river. And I try to get those big relationships blocked in so that like after about an hour, usually I'll have the main relationships blocked in. At that point, you can slow down a bit, and when the light does start changing, you'll have gotten the main gist of what you're doing down, and then you can finish it up.
Okay, so then it would be normal for you to finish in the studio at home.
No, not necessarily. My favorite paintings are the ones where I'm like finish them on site, but just sign it and you're done, and like a great day. But that doesn't always work out that way. So a lot of times I'll take them home and I'll adjust them, do small things. But you have to keep in mind that what's lost when you go out and do a plein air painting, and even if you bring it home, and even if it's imperfect, you'll have captured something significant. And it's so easy. It's a very delicate thing, and it's so easy to lose it. Like if you take your plein air painting into your studio and start whacking away at it, it takes about 10 minutes to make it look like another studio painting. So you have to be very careful in going about finishing paintings or working on them after you leave the site.
Right. That is so interesting to hear you say that. So you're really looking for that magic moment. And I guess that's the beauty about plein air, is that it's so spontaneous.
Yeah, plein air painting is about a particular moment in time. It's not, you're not painting a autumn scene. You're painting a scene on November 1st, 2017 or whenever it is. And it's like the magic of plein air painting is that it's remarkable how you can capture something so simply with just a brushstroke or two. Like a tree can be just a brushstroke, and yet it'll be full of color and light.
Right. That's good stuff. I love that, and that's what's exciting for buyers. And that's what they're looking for, that connection. And I think for artists that are looking to capture that moment, and I know you're working largely in watercolor, and it works so fast. But when buyers or art patrons really respond to that magic that you've created, and that kind of sparks that interest, I think that's really great for patrons too, to understand what you were trying to communicate in the work. I think that's pretty extraordinary thing to share with the world. So yeah, good for you. So traveling all over, what kind of gear do you take? Tell us a little bit about what kind of equipment that you travel with, and what you couldn't live without in your painting toolbox.
That's a great question. We could spend the whole time on that. First of all, it's handy working in both watercolor and oil. Like when I traveled through India, Tibet, and China, I couldn't have taken oils. It's too, like, watercolor is so much simpler. Like I just had a very light tripod. I had a drawing board that I made out of a piece of 1/8" plywood in a light tripod. Like I could set it up and I could throw it up in less than 5 minutes. And also, conversely, I could rip it down and get the hell out of there when the public officials started showing up.
Really?
Oh,
that happened?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially in third world countries. I was painting in China in 1992, which was only 3 years post the massacre in Tiananmen Square. And every time I tried to set up in Tiananmen Square, some locals would come by, and they weren't dressed like police or officials. They were in blue jeans and blending in. And then, what the hell are you doing here? Why are you doing it? I mean, I got grilled every time. So setting up quickly is a big advantage, but breaking down quickly is even a bigger advantage.
Oh my goodness, that's extraordinary. I wouldn't have thought about that, but I would imagine it probably would be. So so back to your tools and your quick setup to avoid the Chinese. What's the best art tool that you've ever bought?
Probably a little Gitzo tripod. I bought it in 1990, which was almost 30 years ago. And its legs have been broken and repaired and patched back together. But it's light, it's small, it's volume wise, it's pretty compact and it's sturdy.
All
so
right.
Just that alone has probably been the most useful. I also use it on my Open Box M oil painting easel.
Okay. And it's Gitzo. Did you make up that name, or is that real?
No, that's a real name. There was a French company, and when I bought it, there was a lifetime guarantee. But then Bogan bought the company, the Gitzo company, and canceled the lifetime guarantee. But that's another story.
All right, that's great. So, any other kind of fun stories? I'm so captivated by your experience in Tiananmen Square. Anything else you can tell us about your time spent around the world?
Oh, geez, there's so many. A good one is I was painting in the southern tip of India in Fort Cochin, which is a town. It's like really about as far south in India as you can get. And I had in India about a month, and the heat and the humidity, and every time I'd set up, I would be rushed by groups of people. So I was feeling pretty exhausted a month into the trip. So one day I was on the outskirts of Fort Cochin, and I found this beautiful convent. And there was like big banyan trees, and it was shady, and there was nobody around. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. So I set up my easel and started working on a watercolor. And sure enough, this boy comes walking over from the convent, and I know exactly what he's going to say. So he tells me in really super broken English that I can't paint there. Oh. So I exercise the option that all travelers do when they hear bad news in a foreign language. They pretend not to understand.
Did that work?
Well, it did temporarily. So he kind of nodded his head as we left. So that was kind of a relief. I really wanted to finish this painting in this nice, beautiful spot. So 2 minutes later, here he comes back, across the lawn again. And he comes over to me, and I'm in the shade of this big banyan tree. Banyans have like the amazing root complexes, and they're just all over the place. So anyway, he comes over and he points to the roots of the banyan tree, and he says, big snake, cobra. So needless to say, I finished that painting in my hotel room.
Oh my gosh, did you see the snake?
No.
Oh my God.
Well, if you see him, it's too late usually, but
wow,
it's a jungle out there.
It's wow. Yeah, it's you got to really love painting.
Yeah.
Deal with all of that. Oh my God.
I'm gonna have that painting in my slideshow that we're gonna do at the library. It's called the Cobra Tree.
Oh my gosh. Oh, we can't wait. We can't wait. So that's super. So those of you, we've got a lot of people watching online. And if any of you, I see your names popping up. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the message box, and Frank will do his best to answer your questions. So yeah, let's talk about teaching. I know you're doing a little lecture for us and teaching for the Idaho Watercolor Society when you're going to be up here in June. So tell us about what it is about teaching that you love so much.
Teaching is really an important part of what I do. I've really spent a lot of energy teaching, and also a lot of time and thought has gone into the class that I'm going to present, at where I'm teaching at. And what I like about teaching is that I've had a good rapport with students over the years, and the thing about teaching is I know exactly where I want to take a class, and I'm relentless about staying focused and on track to do that. So I think has been really appreciated by my students. It's like there's to make an analogy, it's like there's a parallel universe out there. In the normal world, we start painting, we go out, we paint stuff. We paint a tree, a river, a cloud, a sky. And so the paintings end up to be a collection of stuff. I mean, just elements. The parallel universe in painting is when you go into the subject, and in the parallel universe, a tree is not a tree anymore. A tree is a particular color and value with specific color and value relationships to its neighboring pieces of the painting. So in order to be successful in painting, you have to kind of shift into that altered viewpoint.
Right.
And it's like when when the tree is no longer a tree, that's where you should be. And that's what I bring to my classes. Like I want to open that window to the class. And it's not enough to understand that. It's not enough to glimpse it. An artist has to live in that state all the time, like every minute of the painting. And so in my classes, that's where I want to take the class. And
that's so fascinating, Frank. It's like be an observer of life, but it's not so much the surface, right? You're looking deeper to the meaning of things. And, you know, when you're I'm looking at my window right now at the sunlight, morning sun hitting the tree bark. And, you know, the tree, you know, your brain might tell you the tree's brown, but literally there's 100 of colors in there. And that's what you share in your classes. That's fantastic.
That's the parallel universe.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I'm going to remind everybody, if they want to see your work, they can go ahead and check out your website. I've got it scrolling across the screen here. And a few questions are coming in. There is Ruth Ann Oliver says hello from Escalante. And Lori Ashihara is asking, she is dying to know, how many colors do you have on your plein air watercolor palette?
I use about six colors. I use a prismatic palette of a warm and a cool of each of the primary colors. So I have 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues. Sometimes in watercolor, I will add a color like I might add a viridian or a violet. And the reason I do that only in watercolor and not in oil is that in watercolor, if you need it dark, you need it right now. You don't need it 15 seconds from now. So it makes it a little bit, you know, easier to expand the color in watercolor. But in oil, I use 6 colors in white in oil.
Okay.
Thanks for your question.
I hope that helped. Lori. Okay, Kathy Tenney wants to know more about the importance of thumbnails.
Hi, Kathy. Good to hear you. Thumbnails is really important. It basically it's the first step, and it organizes the values. It's like when you look at a subject, a lot of times the most complicated thing are the hundreds of values and the closeness of them. And it's up to the artist to be an editor and an organizer as well as an artist. So the thumbnail sketch is really the first effort to organize it and to get it so that you understand the value structure. If you go into a painting without understanding the value structure, you're most likely in for a long day. So the thumbnail sketch is really important. It gets the painting off on the right foot, and it begins the whole process of getting it going.
Right. Wow. Fascinating. I just love your willingness to share. And I know everybody watching this morning is going to get a lot of good info out of this. And I would mention too that this is going to be rebroadcast. So the video is going to be on the Eagle Plein Air website or Facebook page. And then we also have a website that I will, there, hold on. See, I'm trying to get this all done. Okay, thanks for bearing with me here. The eaglepleinair.com is where you'll find information about the festival coming up, and also Frank's lecture that he's going to be teaching. So tell us a little bit about this slideshow lecture that you've got planned Wednesday evening at the Eagle Library. Plein Air Around the World. So tell us kind of what people can expect in the lecture.
It's the lecture is titled Plein Air Watercolors from Around the World. It'll be the paintings that I did while traveling and through all the trips. Like every painting, except a few, will be done right on site in India, in China, in wherever, Guatemala. And I'm going to throw in a few oils, all plein air as well, just to, I haven't done a lot of traveling with my oils. I've done mostly watercolor, but the slideshow will be all plein air paintings, all from my travels, and primarily in watercolor, but also I'll have some oils in the slideshow as well. So it's a great show. I could spend every single slide has a story. I mean, of course, I can't. If I stop to tell each story, we'd be there all night. So I have to be, careful about that. But it's interesting. Not only is the place interesting, the painting is interesting, but the stories that go along range from hilarious to disastrous.
Oh, great. Well, we can't wait to have you and Paula come visit Idaho. Okay, one more question here. Renee Gallagher is asking if you pre-sketch plein air or just in the studio.
Excuse me, could you give me that again?
She asked if you do pre-sketches in plein air or do you do the sketches just in the studio?
Oh, both. And in fact, plein air is even more critical. When you're outside confronting nature directly, that's when the chaos, you're liable to be overwhelmed by it. So doing a sketch when you're on site in your plein air like that, to me, that is really, it's important in the studio as well. But in plein air, it's really important. It'll get the painting going on the right foot. You might end up saving time that you might have to go back and make a correction by getting a decent sketch and understanding the relationships of the various values within the painting itself. So it's good for both, but it's really important for plein air.
Great. Well, Frank, thank you so much for taking your time to spend with us today. This conversation has really got me excited about your visit. I was already really looking forward to you and Paula coming up to visit, but now I just can't wait to see these great travel sketches and that you've been doing all over the world. I dabble in watercolor myself, so I'm going to be a little fly on your shoulder, just trying to absorb as much as I can of your wisdom. So I sure appreciate you joining us today. And thanks everybody for watching. We're going to be back here again next Friday morning at 9 for another interesting discussion. So thank you all for joining us. Make sure you visit Frank's website and also eaglepleinair.com for more information about the festival. So great, Frank. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Happy Easter. Bye.
That was great, Meg.
Okay. Bye, Paula.
Bye.